Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out on a wonderful spring day. Appreciate it. So if you're here, you're probably here for the Improvement District 3006 Westwood Edition Reconstruct neighborhood meeting. This is a continuation from our December conversation. This one will hopefully be more focused on construction impacts, but nevertheless, we'll help answer anything that you guys bring up at the end of the meeting. So just a few quick introductions. First off, there's a resident sign-in sheet going around. I think it's over here right now. If you have not signed it, please sign it. We're just asking for email and then a cell phone number. That's going to be a quick way. It's going to be a quick way that the city is going to send out the email and text very quick informal updates on the project. There will also be formal project updates posted on the city's website that affects kind of a more global piece, but this will be kind of day to day. For example, if the contractor is like, hey, we're setting up temp water, or you'll be out of water here or there, that'll be a way to quickly communicate that. In addition to more engineering staff being on site all summer long. So please sign that if you haven't. There's a few different versions going around. With us tonight from City of West Fargo, we have Dan Hansen, City Engineer, over here, Jerry Wallace, Assistant City Engineer, up front here, myself, Matt Brockniak, Project Manager of More Engineering, next to me, Brandon Smith, the Lead Project Engineer, and then up front, we also have Josh Rourke and Levi Hansen. Levi has probably contacted you on your temporary construction easements, and then Josh is also here tonight to help answer any questions that anybody might have when we get through the presentation. And then finally, we have the contractor that's been awarded the project, Swain Brothers, out of Holly, Minnesota. With us tonight, we have Dave Swafford. Give a little wave, Jason. Anybody see himself? Joel. So thanks for attending, guys.
So a quick presentation overview of what we're going over tonight. So just a quick project status update based on kind of what's happened since we last met in December. A funding update on the project costs. We'll discuss the temporary construction easements and the private work components of the project. Then we'll get into the construction phasing and the impacts of construction. And then we'll reiterate the communication process for construction, getting contacts from everyone. And then we'll hit the questions at the end. We'll try to prioritize getting through the slides right away and hit the questions at the end. So first of all, just kind of some scheduling status items. The project was bid on March 13th, and the contractor, Swain Brothers, was awarded at the April 7th City Commission meeting. So you may have seen so far, Swain has started bringing their equipment to site. They've mobilized equipment to the North Elmwood Park area, and that happened started last week. And there has been some minor work started in the park area. But the major work will begin this week, and depending on how things dry up after this rain. So we'll get into some of the phasing, but just high level. The main work will start in North Elmwood Park, and then also at the intersection of 7th Avenue and Home Street. Quick update on the dry utility improvements. So Cass County Electric, you've already probably seen in your neighborhood. They're moving the overhead power lines to underground lines. Then there's CenturyLink. They're determining whether to abandon or move their lines to underground. So I think some of you have spoken with about entering the service of CenturyLink. Then finally, we don't know what the schedule of this will be, but Xcel Energy is going to be replacing the gas and mains and services throughout the neighborhood as well.
All right, thanks, Brandon. So the next couple slides, the next 3 slides, are a summary of kind of the project funding and financials for the project. So just a little recap from our December 2024 meeting, or new information if you weren't at that December meeting. So as a reminder, at that time we were still under the design project, and the project really hadn't got underway. We haven't bid or selected a contractor, and at that time, total estimated cost was just over $8 million. For this project type, the city's funding policy for their adopted CIP is a 70-30 split, which means that the city puts 70% of the bill, the remaining 30% is then assessed out to the benefiting parcels. So if you break that down, that total estimated cost, and when I say total estimated cost, that encompasses everything on the project. The construction dollars, the bid amount, and then also the soft cost, for example, utility relocations, right-of-way costs, design, inspection, things of that nature. So the total project cost is all encompassing. I just want to point out that clarification between total project cost and the bid numbers that you might see if you look back at the award packet at a commission meeting. So if you apply that 70-30 split to the total estimated cost of $8 million, in December, this was again an estimate, and it broke down to about an average assessment around $32,780, so about $33,000. We also, at the December meeting, estimated conservatively a 5% interest rate over a 25-year term. You can see an annual installment of how that would apply per parcel. And then also, in December of 2024, when the project was kicking off, the city identified some funding sources that Moore Engineering helped apply for. And at that time, it was anticipated that we potentially could get around $1.2 million in grant funding to help reduce the costs and total assessments, and we were just kicking off that process in December 2024. So I'm happy to report, if we transition forward, Brandon, since December 2024 and the bidding of the project, the city has applied for, like I said, a grant of upwards of $1.2 million. They secured $960,000, so almost $1 million to go towards the project. In addition, they're working through and securing lower interest financing. So that assumed 5% interest rate for the bonding from the special assessments is estimated to be lower at that 3.5% number. So this lowers the annual cost of those assessments significantly. So what that means, if we now apply that same methodology to the bid results from March of 2025, so about a month ago, again, this project type, the CIP funding, a 70-30 cost split, the city paying 70%, the city and then assessing out the remaining 30%. And then you take off that grant funding that was secured. The assessed portion to the residents is about $2.2 million. So what that means now, an average assessment around $29,000. Again, that's an average. And then an estimated annual installment around $1,765 per year. So you can see throughout the project process, it's estimated, applied for funding, the city was successful in securing some, and overall that helps that average assessment moving forward. It does not mean that these are the final numbers. Prices can change throughout construction, but this is as dialed in that we can be at this time. Again, there's a full assessment policy that will be stepped through throughout the project, but these are the current anticipated special assessment allocation. So,
okay, getting into the temporary construction easements, the TCEs. So currently, 85% of the residents adjacent to the project have now executed their TCEs. So just a reminder on the project impacts. So the benefit of the TCEs is, number one, the right-of-way in Westwood is narrow, and just having a little more space to work in the front yards is valuable for the contractor. Number one, they are going to be replacing the sewer and water services up to the property lines. And when you're digging an 8-foot hole, it's not possible to just dig right up to your property line. They're going to need more room to work beyond that. Another component that's really critical to you is the grading. So on the slide here, I put two of the worst case scenarios that we run into with how we're regrading the site and the roadway. So on the bottom left, first of all, this is when we're lowering the new road lower than the existing road, and we're tying into an already steep boulevard. So looking at the diagram here, I show the property line where the existing sidewalk and boulevard would be, and then you can kind of see the curve where that drops down to the existing road. if we look at the new lines in green of what the new boulevard and the new sidewalk will be there, if we're trying to have a smoother transition out into your yard. And if we're stopped at the property line, you can see that red line there, where it has to be more abrupt to tie it back into your yard. That's maybe not as big of a deal in grass areas, but that's gonna look pretty bad on your driveway tie-in. Next, we have the other worst case scenario is when we're raising the road from the new road and we're tying into an already flat yard. So that's where we have to have a really flat grade to tie out into your yard. The further out into the yard you get to gain elevation to have slope out to the street, better. So in a worst case, you see behind the sidewalk there, you would maybe have to drop down to tie into your yard if you can't cross the property line. So that's another, maybe not so bad for grass, might cause some water to build up and not drain out well, but definitely not good on the driveways either. Then another thing, an update on the private work. So at the last December meeting, we discussed if you could request private work outside of the city project. And what we determined through the process is that you can request driveway widening or sewer service replacements extensions closer to the house, up to 5 feet of the foundation. Anything beyond that, we did keep track of the list of requests that you wanted, whether that was driveways up to all the way to your garage from the project limits or any other, I guess, sewer services into your foundation. We kept track of that as well. So I'll let Celine speak for that, but for today, Celine does not want to do any extra sewer service work beyond what's included in the project. And when I say it's included in the project, anyone that requested up to the 5 feet of your home, that is on the project. And then they're only going to be doing concrete work to the project limits that we set within your yards, which is usually around 10 to 15 feet up into the yard. They want to prioritize that concrete work that is on the city project because of the tight schedule this summer. So they would wait until the end of the summer if they did decide that they would want to take any more concrete work off. But I can let them speak on that if there's any further questions on that. So next, I'm going to give you just a high-level rundown of the phasing and the priorities of this project from the engineering standpoint, and then I'll allow Celine Brothers to get into any details as far as their schedule, their working hours and working days, like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Saturday, that type of thing, and then how they're planning their phasing within Westwood. And we can, depending on how you guys want to do it, if you want to just wait until the end. But biggest thing, obviously, this is going to be a painful summer. It's not going to be easy. But the first priority on the project is going to be in North Elmwood Park. So the idea there is to get underground work done, and then a temporary gravel road that is on its 9th Avenue Court, just the entrance to the park. The idea there is that sets up a construction staging area for the contractor. They're going to be using the east half of the park for their equipment and materials. And then there's going to be a designated resident parking area on the west half of the park. So contractor will be with their equipment in there. It would just be all for resident parking, for additional parking when people can't park in the driveways or closer to their homes. Yeah, sorry. So this area and that way, that's east towards the river, is the contractors, and this area down here is the residents. Then the next priority, as I mentioned earlier, is up on 7th Avenue. So a big time-consuming part of the project is going to be where you see the number 2 there in the green box. There's going to be deep excavations work. That's going to cause 7th Avenue to be completely closed in that area. So that's the next priority. Also, as kind of that priority, there's going to be a closure at Oak Street. That's a smaller, more minor area. But we're planning on those two can't occur at the same time, so people don't get trapped in between. This is also going to cause a detour with 8th Street, Sharon Street, and 13th Avenue when you can't get through on 7th Avenue.
Is that L instead of O?
Yes. Yeah, he was supposed to be.
Is it number 2?
So
Is-
part 2 and the next part?
Yeah, sorry, so this number 2 will happen here at Oak Street first, and then the next one will happen, sorry, I mixed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then after that, after those priorities are finished, I guess this is just kind of a minor one, it can occur kind of anytime during the summer, as long as it's not impacting the number 2. Then the next will be, we've given the contractor the freedom to kind of phase the blue area, but we're having them meet requirements as far as getting in the driveways or not having driveways closed down for a certain period of time. So they need to plan their work around that. And what their initial plan is here is Oak Street will be the first priority throughout the neighborhood. Then they'll move to 8th Avenue and then do Elm Street. And some of that is helpful with the timing of the utility work that's happening, the dry utility work, like the electrical and gas as well, kind of incorporating that. So that's high level, and we get into further details and questions with Celine after.
Where's 9th Avenue fitting there?
Yeah, oh, sorry, that'll be part of number 3. So Oak Street looping down all the way through 9th Avenue, that's like the biggest portion, that L shape, as the third priority.
And then 9th Avenue Court Northwest will temporarily disturb with number 1, right at the beginning of the project. Temporary servicing will be put down, and then it will be paid for everything after that.
Will there still be access to the park while number 1's going on?
There will be temporary, they actually have to dig underground pipes in that area, so that it will be closed off during that first priority. Another thing with the park area too is there's gonna be a large fenced area outside of the actual playground area. So it'd be a closed off area where the park is accessible from the south. But that area where there's resident parking and construction staging is gonna be closed off to people outside of that fence. Okay, so then just a reminder, if you'd like your contact information for construction updates, so you can send out your text or emails. Another thing that we can go through with Celine here is we've provided our requirements on the project for them to assist residents that might need help getting from their cars to their homes when their driveways are closed down. So there's contact information there to call the contractor and ask for that assistance. So, then just more engineering contacts, speaking to those as we introduced ourselves earlier. I'm guessing most people have those already just through the TCE coordination.
And we'll flip back and forth between this slide and the map as we.
Yeah, I also have another map of just the overall project, and we can see the pipes and the roads. We can just go through questions from here, so.
Well, Celine, maybe you guys want to come on up here, but you want to talk about your phasing, maybe go back to that a little bit. You guys want to provide some more context on that at all, or Brandon did a good job?
No, I think he did a pretty good job, very good job. Just to reiterate, yeah, we'll be starting in the park here this week if the weather cooperates. This won't be closed immediately, but it will eventually. There's a sewer service from the shelter that we have to tie into here, storm sewer that starts kind of by the river, and then we're going to end here with that. We're going to have our boneyard, our laydown yard here, so there'll be a bunch of materials and equipment that's parked there. And this is going to be our main travel corridor to and from wherever we're actively working in our boneyard. So you'll see a loader or pickups driving through that corridor 30 times a day. So just from a standpoint of like parking vehicles, it's better for everybody if you're not parked on the street, especially in those tight areas, less likely to hit things. So after that's done, this lift station tie-in, and this will probably be closed for about a month. And then we'll be actively digging the deep sewer all the way past 8th. In that area, we're anywhere from 18 to 15 foot deep. So you're going to see us probably cut out 3 foot of clay from wherever that curb line is We're gonna subcut down like 3 feet just because we have to, because it's so deep. That's gonna be tough for the residents that live in that area. You're gonna be trapped in there or blocked from your driveway for however long it takes us to get that sewer through there. So just a heads up for that. We're gonna do the best we can with getting through there as fast as we can, but just know we're gonna have to subcut that out. It's gonna look goofy because we're gonna be going through with 3 different pipes: sewer, water, storm, and then sewer, water, all the services, and then we have to take the storm through there. So you're gonna see us digging multiple times. You're gonna wonder what the heck's going on, just this line of pipe going in, but that's the order of operation. As soon as all the pipes in, we'll be making the road. So phasing wise, starting here, working on Oak, ending here. There's a high point manhole here for the sanitary. Water's behind, then the services, then the storm. Then this stretch, same. And then we'll tie in here. This closure won't be nearly as bad as that one. This will probably be a couple days. Finish with this. Restoration wise, there's a lot of concrete work that has to happen. We are subcontracting to Red River Concrete. We've spoken with Jamie's his name, and he would like to do all of your private work. He wants to do it after the contract work though. So I can give you guys his number if you want right now. And he wants the business, but it might be late fall or next year. So just a heads up for that. All right, so his name is Jamie, Red River Concrete, 701-318-0846. 701-318-0846.
One more time.
701-318-0846. Anything to add?
We'll probably take this first phase, so we won't be stripping, because we're gonna reclaim the whole project. So it's all gonna be a gravel surface, or it'll seem like a gravel surface.
Jason, explain reclaim.
So a reclaiming is that, right now you have the pavement down. It's gonna be a big machine come in, it's industrial builders will be doing it. They're gonna go through passes and they grind up the asphalt with the aggregate base underneath to make a product that we can use to rebuild on the road. So we're just recycling all that asphalt and gravel. So we'll strip off portions of it. So when we do, we'll just strip off that first portion in the 2 area and we'll stockpile it somewhere. And then we'll come and we'll probably strip all the way up from 7th up to where the number 3 is approximately. So we won't be stripping all of Oak all the way down to here first shot, because we want to keep as much access to you guys as we can. It's going to be an inconvenience, but we're going to try our best to keep it as accessible as possible. So we'll do that whole section from 7th to the 3. That'll be the water, the sewer, and the storm. And then we would flop everything, get that restored back to a gravel surface, and then we would strip all the way down to here. So we're going to try to break it up into small sections as we can, so you guys have as much access as possible. But there is going to be times that it will be not accessible, and then especially if there's rain, that slows us down. It'll slow everything down, and we're going to do our best, but there will be inconveniences.
Please explain the resident parking in the park. How will that work? How will you get in and out of it?
So for the resident parking, we're going to add gravel surfaces. Right now, there's the parking. Right now, the diagonal parking in this area, we're going to extend those gravel surfaces, or basically make more of a drivable surface. We're going to widen the road with some gravel. So there's 2 lanes of traffic. So you guys will have to enter. Oh, hey.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to add gravel in this area, and then you'll have access through 9th Avenue Court. Is how you'll get in. So you'll come in from there, and then you'll have access here. You won't be able to drive south past our fence and everything, but you'll be able to enter it from the neighborhood.
Will there be any security cameras or anything monitoring that area?
Not that I'm aware.
Lighting, is that an option to light it up?
Are there street? I don't know if there's park lights there. I have no
I
idea.
think there is park
There's one
lights.
park light, but it's not gonna reach that far, and I'm concerned about the safety of my vehicles, plus my 17-year-old works till 10 o'clock at night, how is he gonna get home?
you'll be able to park in your guys' driveway for the majority of the project. This parking down here is for when, let's say we're working up here and the house is like 701, 707, 713, like those people, like they're gonna be blocked, like that's for, auxiliary parking for them. So majority of the project, if we're not working in front of your house, you'll still have access to your driveway.
So you're saying that 701, when you start there, they're gonna have to park way over on the other side of town?
There's also, so the
'Cause
park is,
we're the first house on 701.
Yeah.
the park is one option for temporary parking along Seventh Avenue as well. All the no parking restrictions, those are gonna be lifted, the signs are gonna be vague, so we can park on Seventh Avenue as well, or other places in the neighborhood. So we realize this is a tight loop and there's not a good in and out. So just offering up that park area as one option, ideally or realistically, the park option is, probably for, call it the southern half of the neighborhood, maybe along Seventh Avenue or other streets by your neighbors, that would be, for instance, where you might park.
And internally too, it's not like the whole inside of Westwood is just all gone immediately. You might be able to park within 4 or 5 houses from your home. Like for instance, this home here, there might be a time where you can park down the street right here. It's not necessarily like the whole neighborhood is torn up and you have to go outside the neighborhood.
So he had mentioned they don't want this parking on the street so their machines don't bump our cars. Is that'll be parking different sections at different. We try to send out updates like where we actively are working and where we're gonna be traveling. So like Jason said, it's not the whole, we're not gonna be tearing everything up at once. It's gonna be kind of in chunks. And we'll give updates where that is. So it's gonna be rough, but it's not gonna be like the whole summer is gonna be terrible. Are these slides available online somewhere?
Yeah, they'll be, we can provide them on the city website.
Yeah, we can put this presentation on our website.
So what about, access parking on the seventh?
So even the parking on Seventh, they're always.
There will still be access for emergency vehicles.
Both sides.
I mean,
So
through the
what
project.
that one requirement on the project is that there needs to be a way
Keep your house.
in and out of Westwood.
Shut down, there's no traffic.
You can't close off this intersection and this intersection at the same time. There needs to be some way into the neighborhood for emergency services or garbage services or mailman. So there needs to be a way in and out. And it's typical for reconstruct projects. I mean, they have to happen, right? So we just have to make them aware of it and be able to plan with it.
And to that end, police department, fire department, post office, sanitation department at Public Works, all the Public Works, everybody's has been notified. School district, for bus.
Amazon? Amazon buy our bus every day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, other temporary items to consider. I can let Steve talk a little bit about the temporary water. You can have temporary water lines in your yards when they have to shut down the water main in the street. But another thing is the garbage cans, like getting those, sometimes when the area is torn up, the contractor is gonna have to move your garbage cans for you. And the idea we thought of there is to help coordinate and get your garbage can back to you. If you could assist with putting duct tape in your house number on your garbage can and help out with it. If you don't end up doing it, one of us will do it for you, but it would just help out. So it's your personal item, but you give you the chance to do that first.
So you're lower the road, by how far and why? It's like, why?
Oh, so as far as, so the reasoning for the road either going up or down is currently pretty much the whole neighborhood all flows south to the park. So like this end south, typically, so let's say that this whole neighborhood is like 700 feet long. Typically, we like to have high and low points every 500 feet, 250 feet. So when we're since there's not existing storm sewer in the neighborhood, there's only storm sewer down here. We need to add storm inlets along the roadway.
And where are those gonna drain to? Because where my Ben's house is at, I across from it, there's this drain that runs, dumps right into the river. Oh, my understanding, you guys are gonna sand cap that?
This one up here,
No, the one,
up to the river, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
So
eight
what's
sixty-one.
gonna happen with this new storm network is the old one did drain that way. Some of it went directly to the river that way, and then some of it comes out into a lift station here and then to the river. The new way this is gonna work is all of the storm water comes out a bigger pipe down and then straight to the river. So that one, yes, it will get abandoned back there.
So that drains the majority of that cul-de-sac.
Yep, so all the water will just come out a different direction now. There's bigger pipes that are gonna run to that cul-de-sac and then come out through the river.
And you know that you're not gonna flood that area?
Yeah, we do stormwater modeling to understand how much water builds up in certain areas. And we decide where the inlets should be and how big the pipes should be to make sure that that water goes out appropriately.
And you've done that already? You've already
Yes.
planned that.
Yes.
does that include the 8th Avenue loop?
Yep, there's new storm sewer.
So all the,
Sure.
Both
It was, this is the first time you've said it's gonna be part of the 8th Avenue loop. Remember when we talked about this, about the drainage in my backyard, that everything flows from the south?
So the
That was not part of the project.
backyard is a separate issue. We are still designing the backyards, but as far as the streets go, that is fine.
So that's gonna be another assessment against me?
No, we've incorporated that into the.
That's not what was said. You said that it's a different part of it now, so.
Yeah, we're just working with the design, so we plan for the quantities to know how much it would cost,
Okay,
but we just need to put them in the right locations, is all.
so that is part of the project.
Yes, correct.
The rear.
I'm gonna write that down.
Brandon was just explaining how the road system goes. Yep.
So,
Brandon, that storm sewer that goes east into the river,
yeah,
that one's gonna be filled.
correct, yeah, so, yeah. Another thing with the backyards, we put it in the last letter that we sent out, so we have to do survey in the backyards. Some of it, obviously, that's a little difficult with backyards, fences and those things, but we need to be able to see where water likes to sit. And we need to get actual elevations from survey to understand where the best locations are. We also need, once we determine the best locations, that might not necessarily be the best location if it's in the way of a structure, or if there's a difficulty in getting an easement there needs to be a permanent easement where those final pipes go. So we're working through that process right now, determining the best place to go.
So on that loop then, is 8th Avenue a high or low grade road
But,
for drainage?
so typically the inlets are all relatively close in elevation to each other, probably within half a foot, right?
But you were saying about the grades going down for the landscaping.
Oh, that varies throughout the project, so the way we're handling that is, remember how I said it all goes north to south? So we're, like, let's say that's my arm here, we have to do high and low points along with that. So it's not like, we're not going in the opposite direction, we're
Right.
kind of following that, but we have to create little high and low points along the way.
So you're gonna have probably one.
No, that's not the storm sewer go, that's where the inlets go, so the low points we make, is where a catch basin is, and the water goes in.
Here. As you go home tonight, you might see some puddles with this rain. Those inlets are meant to get that way. That's why the road is deteriorating.
No, it's not sure, because that is true, because it's not a fish.
Yeah, so currently the whole neighborhood, let's say it's like 5 to 10 times flatter than what we would plan for on a new project.
Are you gonna crown the road that's is now because of the power? Oh, very good. There's about a 20-inch crown on that cul-de-sac there. From the
Yeah.
drainage running, there's a 20-inch crown about. So are you gonna crown that road and you're lowering it?
In
By how
places.
far?
Yeah,
It's
so,
very beautiful development.
no, everything follows the road, or everything follows the curb we've got here.
Right. But how low are you lowering the road?
So the most fluctuation that happens throughout the whole neighborhood is within about 6 inches. So we might go up 6 inches and we might go down 6 inches. Correct, yeah, the water drains from the top, the water, like streets shaped like this, the water hits it and goes to the curbs.
Will be crowned.
You're putting in 4-inch curving instead of soft curving?
The curb is a mountable curb and gutter, so right now it's a 6-inch high back, and it'll be like what you see in a lot of new developments. It's roughly 3.5 inches tall, and it goes right up, and that gets paved the whole way, so driveways tie into that. It won't be flat at your driveway, it'll be a little bump about this tall.
When you're, going here, you say you're not gonna tear up the whole street at once. Those sections that you are working in, what's your anticipated time to complete, like in front of a house or two?
So it all varies. So the sanitary is quite deep on the north end. So we're about 20 feet deep at this intersection up here. And it gets shallower as we go. So when we get to this intersection right here, we'll be about 16, 17 feet deep. So the shallower it gets, the faster it'll be. But those deep areas, it will be slow moving.
There's days where we might get 100 feet where it's deep, and there's days when it's shallower where we might get 200-300 feet. It all depends on if there's wires we're digging around, how deep it is. There's a whole bunch of different variables. So
if we're on the corner, then you said a month, so we won't be able to use our driveway for a month?
are you at 701?
Right,
Your driveway comes out onto Oak, right?
right.
You should have access for the majority of that month.
Okay, I was just wondering, because I got a boat there, and if I gotta move it, I gotta move it.
The worst part is gonna be that lift station connection in the park. We're gonna have a crane set sheet piling, and then after the sheeting is in, we're gonna dig out all the dirt, so it's not just spoil everywhere. That's what's gonna take the longest. Then after that, it should be, I don't know, a week or so to get 7th done, and then after that, your driveway's gonna be blocked. We're gonna be sub-cutting everything down and doing that sewer to the south on Oak.
So actually, in actuality, we should be in fairly decent shape as far as using our driveway most of the summer.
Oh, yeah.
It's just gonna be short stints when we're digging right through it, and then if it rains, because I mean, we're gonna have it backfilled with clay, and we don't want
That's
people.
another thing, how are you gonna get garbage trucks through that whole thing if it's, if you got
Wherever we're actively,
where and-
wherever we picked up the gravel, that's where the garbage trucks aren't gonna be able to go. That's where we're gonna have to be peddling the trash cans for you on Thursdays.
When are you planning that number 2 cutout? Because you have to bring a crane in there, right?
So there's a couple variables at play. I would say just generally, right now, best guess, the week of May 12th, maybe sooner. But that'd probably be a pretty safe bet, where that closure goes up Monday, May 12th, and then a month of work.
And that's starting at number 2 or in the park?
Number 2.
Number 2, she is at number 2. Yeah.
Okay, how about that road going into the park? What is that district?
It's looking outside.
Later this week, we're gonna start the underground. We won't have to close this off until we're right up in here. There's removals we wanna do, but I think we can try to get some access through there. I would say next week sometime, that's gonna be closed.
When are you planning on fencing in that area where all that machinery is? Because there's a bunch of kids out there having a really good time this weekend.
We were,
What about safety?
Yeah.
we were trying to do it today, and then the weather kinda,
Okay.
so hopefully tomorrow.
They were out there all weekend, so that's not a good thing either.
Sure.
You had mentioned stipulations on like requiring access to driveways being blocked for so long. How long is it expected?
Yeah,
The
that's-
longest expected blocked driveway?
Yeah, so that's set up where it can occur multiple times, but it's 14 consecutive days. So we also have that might need to stretch sometimes for concrete to cure, just to be able to, so it's set up for you to be able to drive back on it. So, and that's, that can't be perfect. There's gonna be tough areas to work in, so it's gonna be hard in some areas.
That Seventh Avenue, I won't be able to use for parking either then.
Well, if you remember, both tie-ins aren't happening at once, but yeah, to quickly loop
Well, I
into
mean-
your yard
I mean-
or driveway, you'll have to go around it.
Yeah, because we can't park on the street on Seventh, like west of Oak Street. You should be able to, it'll be shut down.
They're blocking.
And we're taking the no parking.
Talking in here?
Yeah.
Taking the
No.
no parking.
Yeah, that's
Emergency
better.
services
Yeah.
are there. The hook and ladder came through today.
I think that'd be fun, as long as no parking is allowed.
Oh, yeah, I think close enough.
We just don't want cars like right on the edge of our construction
Yeah.
area.
So yeah, a good rule of thumb is you see wherever the excavator ends that night, he'll continue moving in the same direction he was. So if you're 100 feet away from that excavator where he ended that night, just plan that he's probably gonna be up to you sometime that day. So just keep in mind wherever that excavator is, if he keeps getting closer to your place and they stop for the night, most likely he will be in front of your place the next day.
Moving cars.
Cars, yeah.
Get them out of your garages.
Can I borrow that laser pointer real quick? Thanks.
If you're starting in the park and you're taking out that road next week, maybe you'd say, how long is that road gonna be shut down?
I would say day 2, 3, 4 for subgrade, put the reclaim back on there, a week if things go good and it doesn't rain. We could have it reclaimed and then open up again.
That's gonna be your route for your materials.
Correct, yep. Yep, so we're gonna remove that little median there, get the storm in, the sanitary sewer, build everything, grade it per plan, put down geogrid, and then just probably like 2 feet of that reclaim material, just so it's not, I mean, there's gonna be so much traffic on there from our heavy equipment. Yeah, I would say a week, give or take, somewhere in there. I just wanted to show you guys, the way we have to install everything, gravities downstream, obviously there's a grade. The sanitary all drains to here, so we need to install that sanitary sewer just like this, going all the way through here, and then there's a terminal manhole here, that's where it stops. We'll have the water line right behind going like that. After the sewer and water is in, we'll test everything, then we'll go through and do all the house services. So every house has a sewer and a water service. If we're lucky, we'll get 3 houses a day per crew. If it's not, it might be 2. You'll see us kind of going like that, working on all the services. After that's done, everything drains storm sewer wise to here. So that's why we're starting here at the park, working our way this way with the storm. And then we'll take the storm back, and then it terminates right there. We're kind of talking internally about maybe stopping short with the storm and getting a chunk of restoration done first. That's probably what we'll do, but that's kind of up in the air still. But that's just how we have to install everything. It all has to drain downhill. We got to start down low and work our way up. For temp water, you'll see this in the next couple weeks. There'll be 2-inch PVC yellow pipe that we need to string out. We'll take some gravel and probably blister it over your driveway so you can drive over it. That's totally fine. But we have to string that all the way out, and then after everything's tested, we have to hook that up to your house. So most of the time, we just take black poly and find an exterior spigot, and then we'll hook it up, and then we'll knock on your door and make sure that you have water and we're not flooding your house. But when you see a bunch of yellow pipe strung out on the boulevard, that's your temporary water pipe. So, anything else?
Xcel Energy, so they're replacing meters now, I know. But are they gonna replace all the gas feed lines also to the meters? Is that right?
Yes, they're replacing all of their private infrastructure.
What about,
The last communication we've had from them is starting next week.
gas line, we're at 7 feet there. They're putting everything down there to a video, replacing meters to that go into the house.
I don't know what their plan is on the private side. I do think they do have to do private work because many of the homes have the exterior roof connections to get up their line, so I believe they have to.
Question over here.
Matt, will you have a direct number for Excel? You call Excel, it's an 800 number, it's somebody in Minneapolis. So if something happens, there's somebody who's something wrong, and these people can contact.
Yeah, we have some contact information for all the utilities that we could help provide. We'll confirm with those utility companies ahead of giving out that information, that's that faster out, but that's, you know, one of those updates that we can blast out to everybody via email and text. So,
I think the better they're informed,
yep,
the better they
you
feel.
got that note down, and thank you.
So you guys, so when you do Oak Street, before you move on to Elm or Ave, is it completely done then before you move on to the next phase?
It'll be a drivable, so what we'll do is we'll do the subgrade prep, we'll get our geogrid down, and then we'll have it a gravel surface. So it won't be paved and the curb won't be installed, so that'll all be in one big, the paving will all be in one
All at
big
the same
thing.
time towards the end of this.
We'll probably get the curb in, but we'll probably hold off on the paving till the end. Unless something, we feel like, you know, it keeps raining and we gotta get the paving in, but we gotta get the curb in so we can kind of do the rest of the concrete restoration. So it'll probably stay like that gravel till the end of the job, but the concrete will happen after the gravel's in.
You guys have said that 70% of the city's funding is taxpayer funded, right? It's all taxpayer, right? 30% goes to each resident, so roughly about $32,000 per house, right? Then you're gonna charge 5% interest on top of that. So your average house payment, if you have one, goes up $147 a month, less interest. Now, it's all taxpayer money to begin with. So I don't understand this, the city's paying for it, because the city's not paying for it, the taxpayers are paying.
You want me to answer that, Dan?
Oh, I can take that. Any money that the city ever spends is taken from the taxpayers. The city doesn't create any.
They don't have one.
Correct. Any governmental unit, they tax people, government, the city offers, and we're previously, prior to, the CIP that was approved in June of 24, it used, I'm sorry?
The what?
I'm sorry, the capital improvement plan that we presented to the commission, prior to June of 2024, these projects used to be assessed 60%, and the taxpayers through the general fund or the capital improvement sales tax would pay the rest of the project. That ratio was lowered because when we first ran this project through, the special assessments were completely outrageous. It wasn't worth even proceeding with the project under the old way of assessing. So the commission requested that we look at it and see if we can lower the assessed amount and pay more through other sources. And so that 60% assessed was cut in half down to 30% assessed for these reconstructed projects. Now, the portion that the city's going to be paying for is actually coming out of the capital improvement sales tax fund. So anytime people are buying anything in the city, there's a city sales tax. Those city sales taxes generate roughly about $11 million per year. And the $5,173,000 that is shown as the city total, that's actually being paid for out of that capital improvement sales tax. So that also is paid for by people in the cities that are traveling to the lights for a concert and staying in a hotel and buying food. Anybody paying taxes, anybody buying anything that has a city sales tax attached to it, that's the entity that is covering that $5,173,000.
So then how are they assessed special if you're recovering $11 million? Is that per year?
We take in about $11 million per year, and we probably got a need of about $40 million per year. We don't have enough money to do all the projects that we'd like to do. This project was identified as a top priority in a study that was done.
Is that because of the way the park is laid out now, because you guys changed the park entrance to make it more fancy?
No,
Or is that,
it's 100% driven by your sanitary sewer is about to fail.
it's about to fail, or it is failing?
It's still functioning today, so it's still working, but it's cracked, there's infiltration. There's places that you can see where the old clay tile pipe that was installed back in the 1959, it has reached the end of its design life and then some. And if we can share the televising with you, you can take a look at it. It's in extremely poor shape.
I'd like to see that.
Yep, we can make that definitely available to you if you want to just let Josh or Matt on the end know, we can provide a link to be able to view it.
Well, if you really, I mean, I like your explanation, but you just kind of danced around the questions that we answered directly is $147 a month plus 5% interest.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't cover that portion of it. So all projects are funded through some way, whether the city gets a bond to pay for the project, or if we take out a low interest loan through the state, is another way that we were to do this. So basically, whatever the city gets the bond for, the city, say it's an $8 million project and we're going to take out a bond for $8 million, the city has to pay interest on that bond. That interest is included in the special assessments, and there's usually about a 1% increase in that percentage that gets put onto the special assessment. Now, when we presented in December, we were presenting it with a 5% interest rate because we were figuring we were going to take out a bond for probably in the neighborhood of 3.5% to 4%. And since then, we've applied for low interest loans through the state, and we were successful in getting that loan approved to do the project. That decreased, instead of a bond from 3.5% to 4%, now we're getting a low interest loan from the state from say 2 to 2.5%. So that's why we're conservatively saying that at 3.5% is what the interest rate would be on that special assessment, because the city, in taking out either the loan or the bond, has a principal and interest payment into that debt service. If that makes sense.
That's taxpayer money too.
Everything is taxpayer money.
So you're paying tax on top of tax.
We can't print money, so we have to pay interest by borrowing it. You know what I mean? It's, whenever we borrow money, it comes.
Well, what about, yeah, exactly what she said. We paid for that since 1959. Everybody's through that development is paid property tax, right?
Correct, yeah.
Where's that one?
Schools.
Yeah. You live in a city, this is very normal
I
for
got it, I
everybody.
know that.
If you take a look.
You're not gonna get them to bid down the interest rate.
Well, if we do get a bond, we go out to the public, we actually advertise for bids on bonds, and we take the one that has the lowest interest for it. None of those bond entities can match the low interest loan that we get from the state, so that's why we went to the state to get the low interest loan.
It
I thought
sucks.
some of that legacy money was supposed to be for, not just West Fargo, but any town for infrastructure. I thought some of that legacy money was supposed to be designated for that.
Yeah, we have what's called a prairie dog fund. That's the bucket that gets filled up for infrastructure projects and things of that nature. So when you take a look at our capital improvement program that was approved in 2024, those dollars that came in through the prairie dog fund are included in that calculation on how much projects that we're doing. And those funds do go into paying for projects and other things. Now, in the past, we had gotten $10.5 million through that prairie dog fund. So far, we've only gotten $2.5 million of it. Those buckets are only given out after they fill certain buckets at the state. And then once they get to the prairie dog funds, they'll fill that bucket up and then distribute that out to the cities. And what we're seeing right now is that those buckets aren't getting filled as much as they used to. So we're not getting as much of the prairie dog funds as we have in the past, but we're hopeful that we do get more money for it. But again, we went from $10.5 million that we received a couple years ago. And a lot of that money was spent on a north side sanitary sewer project where all the sewage from the city goes into the upgrading all of those pipes and manholes and things like that. That was a very expensive project. We're also taking money that's being put into that capital improvement project for when Public Works is doing milling and overlays. There's a cost share on that, as we only assess 50% of the material costs for those projects right now. And so everything factors into it.
How about if they start refilling buckets, say, a year or 2 or 3 years down the road, will some of that money come back to us, so our payments can go down?
So what I'll say is there was a core area infrastructure report that was done recently. And what it showed is in the core area from 13th Avenue up to Main Avenue and basically east to west, they identified if we started reconstructing the core area, starting with this neighborhood, and then we keep going, there is, in that report, it showed $543 million worth of work to be done in today's prices. We get $11 million a year. You take about $4 or $5 million that's already being used for other city things that it pays for, and we end up with about $6 to $7 million. If you take that $6 to $7 million and figure out how long is it going to take us to do $543 million worth of work, it's roughly 100 years. And in that amount of time, this neighborhood will need to be reconstructed again by that time. So money that's coming in is when you have a new street and roadway system, the percentage of estimated, or the percentage that we would assess for those projects would be the same for the next one as it is for this one. But with that amount of need and areas that haven't been reconstructed, that money, generally speaking, unless the commission decides to, won't be given back for loan forgiveness on previous projects. It'll be put down just like previous money that we got from the state is being put down towards this project. That money will be put down towards future projects to get as much work done as we can. There's a lot more need than funds.
Are you gonna fix 7th Avenue between the bridge and Elm Street?
There is programmed in to eventually reconstruct 7th Avenue all the way, but what it needs is the whole area of this core area was designed back in the day when storm sewer wasn't designed properly. So the first thing that we need to do is start on the downstream side, west of Cheyenne Street. A big storm lift station is going to need to be put in there, and then we're going to start having to work west to east on 7th Street there. And then also there's priorities as we're going to get to different things. So the area from Oak to Cheyenne, I believe, is included in that area of reconstructive 7th. And then west of Oak is a different project at a different.
Because that was there before any of the houses in the Westwood development were built, obviously.
Yep.
So that's gotta be older than anything you're replacing now.
It does definitely need to be replaced. The problem is you can't start by replacing the stuff upstream and installing the size of pipes that you need until you've got enough pipes to receive the flow. So you have to start downstream and build capacity in the network before you can get to there. Yep.
The other unique thing about the Westwood neighborhood, if you recall from the map, is that it drains out through the park and the road that way. It doesn't go through that 7th Avenue network. So Westwood's unique in that it's kind of isolated. The city can pick off this project first and then move into the 7th Avenue.
So it goes back to my question of a long time ago, when are you gonna start 7th Avenue? And who's gonna pay for that?
7th Avenue right now, I'm trying to, I'll have to get back to you, honestly. I don't have
I believe it's 28.
28.
Construction
And-
in the city.
And will they assess for that project also?
But I'll also say this about that project. When we put that project into our capital improvement program, there was also a brick grant that we were going to apply for the storm lift station, which is very expensive. That program has been doged out of the government right now, so there is no brick program anymore for us to apply for that funding for. So we're looking for other sources of funding that we can use to potentially help pay for that project.
So you're actively still seeking financial aid for this project?
Not this Westwood project, I'm talking for the storm lift station that we would need to, yeah, we're constantly looking for funding and the. Yep, we will, until we bid the project out, we still are looking for funding for projects, yeah, absolutely.
So who wants to take, they didn't be hopefully optimistic and saying when this will be done,
The Westwood project,
the project we're working on now in our area.
there's a completion date that Brandon can,
Yeah, it's October, mid-October, like 15%.
Rather than I thought it was.
We also have to plan for some work in the spring / early summer next year for restoration. Most of that's just like getting the grass back, because we're not gonna be able to plant good grass in October this year.
We got a question back here.
Real quick, Shane, were you saying that, were you asking if the funding is in place for Westwood or the Seventh Avenue project?
Westwood, you're still active to receive.
We are not. We are final for Westwood.
Dan was referring to some.
There's no more financial support for us.
There's nothing else we can apply for this project.
Where does money come from the legacy fund? I mean, there's a lot of money in the legacy fund. Nobody can tap into that for projects of any sort?
You'd have, that's up to the Bismarck, people to designate where that comes. So call your representatives and say, we need more money given out to local
I
cities.
do want to get to it back here.
Yeah, I just had a question for the sewer lines. Understanding that we can't replace the 5 feet in front of the house, so we're gonna have all this brand new sewer and everything, and then, 100-year-old lines 5 feet down. So is there a subcontractor that is willing to do the work while everything is tore up that we could hire out, knowing that, again, it's gonna be pretty expensive? But at least if it all happened at once.
I would recommend getting quotes from local plumbers. It sounds like a group of almost like 10 residents has already reached out to ladies about doing that remediation work. But it would just take your effort of, and it's private work, it'd be your responsibility.
How do we coordinate with you guys in doing it when they're doing our thing?
Yeah, you will want to let us know, and we'll have to work with Celine as far as getting good timing for that. So, as far as that working out perfectly, I don't know Jen right now. Yeah, I mean, it would be best if Celine does install their pipe first, so.
So can the city, excuse me for interrupting, can the city then have somebody coordinate so we can all get the same contractor in at a discount rate? Ah, I got quiet, didn't it?
No, it's because that's private work, that's outside of this scope.
I think one option you do have if you did group together as a neighborhood, and I mean, the prices may go down if the contractor gets to do 25 projects in the neighborhood. They might be able to lower their quotes for that reason, but we can't guarantee that.
Can't guarantee that the prices that you put back out initial letter of so much per foot.
Well, that was only referring to this project,
Right.
this scope,
Right.
right? Not the 5 feet into the home.
Yeah,
it's not-
that's us looking at our type of projects, as far as a contractor having to go to your house and dig a hole for 5 feet, that gets expensive. So that was trying to predict from the property line up to your home, roughly what it could add up per foot of pipe. But we don't, yeah.
Okay.
A couple questions.
How will the sidewalks be handled? So you come in and you remove the street surface and probably the curb and gutter. What about, do they stay? Do they go right away?
They'll be removed when we remove the curb, yeah.
Okay, so there really is no sidewalk at all until October?
Well,
They'll be restored in phases, but as we're doing each one of those phases, we'll rip out all the concrete driveways, curb, sidewalk.
Are you putting the sidewalks back exactly where they are? Are you gonna say that you have an easement past the property line and move that? Because I guess you guys are gonna widen the street.
No, so the street is actually getting narrower. So let's say this is the property lines right here. The sidewalk will be 2 feet in from the property lines, starting on the back of the concrete. So it'll all be within the city right of way, correct?
There'll be nothing past that right away into private right.
So where the sidewalk is now, wherever, doesn't matter. Like my father's house, for instance. And then if you go east of that, you're on his property, right? Because the water shut off is on the boulevard.
Oh, so the curb stop is planned for, if this is the property line and this is the sidewalk, curb stop goes right in between in the grass. So if there's a 2-foot space, it's 1 feet from the property line, 1 foot from the sidewalk.
So you're putting,
What's that?
you're putting it in the middle of the sidewalk.
No, it's in the grass behind the sidewalk towards your home. So it's between the concrete sidewalk and your property line towards your house. It's in the grass between those two
So
spots.
you have a 1.5 foot easement.
No, there. Yeah, so that is not, that's all within right of way. Are you asking about the temporary construction
I
easements?
did not.
Okay.
That's a
Where
two-person
is the
choices.
sidewalk, and how wide are you gonna make the boulevard versus where?
Oh, so the boulevard will actually get, right now, if you compare it to the new one, it'll get about a foot longer. Because the street is getting a foot narrower on both sides. So total, it'll be 2 feet narrower. And I think there's 5.5 feet of grass now, and it'll turn to 6.5.
What?
No.
No, I think you have to go.
Close.
Well, there, and another thing too,
2 feet at most.
It's a lawnmower, not a 40 inches.
oh, sorry, 3.5 to 4.5. I was wrong on that number. 3.5 to 4.5.
The curb stops are in the boulevard now. Is that, you're saying you're gonna move those to our yard?
They will be closer to your home on the other side of the sidewalk if they're.
Okay, on the other side of the sidewalk, okay.
Oh, yeah, temporary access, to your question.
Narrower.
No.
It doesn't fit now anyway, are you gonna make it narrower?
Well, they're gonna make it over.
So that, as far as the width of the street, that's the standard that the city uses, like, all the new developments you see on the south half of the interstate, that's the standard width that they go with. We're also changing the
I don't
park.
live there, though. I live here, so.
We're also changing I think the parking requirements are changing, so half of the street can park on the street, and the other half will be open. So currently, there's parking on both sides.
No, there's not.
Okay, so I was wrong about that. As far as the pedestrian access component, it should be an expectation on this project, when the sidewalks are gone, people are gonna have to walk on the grass areas. If there are issues, I want you to reach out to us in case there needs to be something extra done as far as gravel placed down or like potentially plywood, if there's hard areas to walk over. So that's an expectation for that as well.
If you're not able to walk, then there would be private assistance.
Yeah, there's someone that you can call to help you get to your car and at your house.
Yeah, that might actually be readily available. Maybe we did be morning when people want to work.
When we're on site, the ride assistance will be available. We'll have a 6-person side by side that we can grab people if they need assistance getting to their vehicle. We can pick them up at their house, bring them to their vehicle.
Approximate work hours.
Approximate work hours would be, 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock, somewhere in there.
When you guys shut down phase 2 on 7th Avenue, is there gonna be foot traffic to get to Cheyenne, or do you have to go all the way?
Depends on the time of day, but it's probably gonna be best to just go around. Well, they're gonna gauge it, but we're gonna have to, since that is so deep, we're gonna have to cut a big portion of the street out. There will be a lip, and we'll fence it off, because we don't want kids falling in this lower residence. So I mean, it will be fenced off. We'll see what it looks like, but see what the time is. But yeah, I might have to just go around.
We have kids that, like, in the summertime, ride their bike. So if there's a fence in the park, then how are they have to go all the way down and around? Or can they go through the park and on their bike?
You're saying like.
Yeah, so they go, so they go that way. So can they get by?
We should be able to have a spot where people will be able to get. I remember there's a fence, 701.
When we're digging there, I wouldn't send your kids through there, but if you can avoid it for a couple weeks after it's gravel, should be fine.
Would he be able to get through on his bike there, the fence, or is that gonna be a hard fence, you know what I mean? Like, what are the options?
So, can I consider some part or is this?
Like down there.
This will be a hard fence. Because because there is a playground here, we will have that as a staging area, and we don't
So
want.
how do we get to our houses from that parking?
So you'll be parking here, you'll be able to drive, right?
So we won't have access to the park though. Like for our kids, won't be able to go to the park all summer. Well,
This sidewalk doesn't extend across this.
Yeah.
So this is the sidewalk. Okay, your guys' vehicles in our staging area, but you should be able to walk right through here.
There'll still be a.
No.
It's not going through it, they'll go over that.
We have a question over here.
Explain the size of the boulevard, what's happening,
That's,
the sidewalk, what's happening. You said before you were gonna make the sidewalks wider.
I don't recall us saying that the sidewalk was gonna get wider. I think what has been described as the boulevard getting wider because of the narrowing of the roadway.
You're gonna narrow the road and make the boulevards wider.
Correct. Marginally, yes.
And the sidewalks, I thought they had to be wider for handicap.
They have to be a minimum of 4 feet wide.
I don't think they're for.
They will be now, anything that goes back.
Where are you getting them? All out of the street?
We could, the street typical section that explains the dimensioning of the boulevard, the variable width, the sidewalk and the street width. We can, maybe attach that typical section to this presentation. So when that's uploaded, and then we're happy to, we do have at least a printout of it up here. We're happy to answer that, more in detail, as questions kind of filter through, so.
I do have one question. Right now, where we got an area where it's gonna be staged for us parking there, for the park. But who's gonna be responsible for, say, if our vehicles get broke into? It's gonna be you or it's gonna be our insurance company?
We have no, security measures or insurance measures built into the project. It's kind of like if you're parking on the street at night.
That'd be different because they have a garage.
I'm talking.
That's what he's talking.
That's what I'm talking, yeah.
So that's not supposed to conversation.
I'm not sure it's just kind of.
So it's just, if the hail thing got a little bit bigger, and you could have parked in his garage, and then we can't. If it's sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, a bunch of hoodlums go break into your vehicle. You have a garage, now we can't park there.
The other thing we can do is we can work with PD to increase patrols in that area as well. So we can make sure that there's additional patrol cars going.
And I want to say this truck coming by, a big rainstorm, I hate when it comes through. We're parking over there, and we can't park in our vehicle in our garage where we're supposed to be parking. Who's responsible for it? Why should you be, why should us be responsible for it? You guys as development, you just get basic, in a short period of time, I understand, I've done construction work. But you should be able, also be able to make it so we can get to our parking garage. That's what we have there to protect our property.
And for the most part, a lot of the summer, you'll be able to park in the garage, as David said. It's just, if there's a 20-foot hole in front of your house, you can't drive a car.
I understand that. Where we're at. But the thing is, where you're staging it, a lot of us are elderly people. We can't walk a mile, 8 blocks or 6 blocks to get to, from our vehicle down their houses. Or 2 blocks.
And there's a phone number that's provided that you can get a hold of the contractor. They'll come pick you up in a 6x6 side-by-side, and they'll take you to.
A lot of them go to work at say 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, and they're gonna come get us at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
I don't believe that they're sitting out there at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Apologize.
Another thing that comes up in that same token is because of the people that live in that area, they get a lot of delivery. Amazon is funny, but it's actually essential for some of the people in that neighborhood. They don't leave their homes, so they get a lot of stuff delivered and Meals on Wheels. And I think that is also a consideration. If one of my neighbors who I know gets weekly deliveries from the organization, how are we gonna make sure that that's taken care of? It's an essential life thing.
Yeah, if there is a special circumstance like you're talking about, please let us know. We do want to know those things. So, I mean, if there's Meals on Wheels being delivered and it's going to 701, we'll make sure that that Meal on Wheels.
And then I have daycare in my home. I have a licensed daycare, so I have parents in and out, so I need to know when they can't get to the house, and it's fine in July, but not so fine in October.
Yeah.
As far as, travel supporting those kids, and they come within a 3-hour window.
Yep, you'll be made aware when those direct impacts will be happening.
Okay, also, I have another question, okay, it's in my driveway, 5103, the drain that goes all the way through the river. Okay, so when you get that off, I take care of the whole, now, so if your system fails, the whole neighborhood gets flooded, right? All water comes to our basements, who's responsible for us, as homeowners, or you guys?
You want to explain the abandonment process
so-
first?
Right up here, like you're saying, this line, it's actually this line right here as you're talking, that's draining everything right now. We're gonna keep that active for quite a long time. So this new storm sewer is still red, there's gonna be another inlet replacing it. We're not gonna be getting rid of that until we have an active storm sewer to
Well, I
replace it.
understand that once the project's all said and done, and you're gonna sand trap that culvert, that drain, that takes care of all Oak Street. Cul-de-sac area. Okay, so when you shut that off, and you sand it, when you fill that in, and say, for instance, you fails, and everybody ends up with flood that whole area. And everybody ends up with water in the bit, which is never business, but you don't want to get in the basements. So if your system fails, that means that you guys are responsible for your screw up, not us.
And if I could just point out, right now, there's only a few inlets right here that drains this area right here. So now, instead of this whole area draining down all the way down to just one inlet in front of your house, it's gonna be able to go into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 inlets are now taking the water that your one inlet currently takes. And the pipes are getting expanded to the new design requirements. This pipe right now, as modeled, does not handle a rain event even close to the amount of water that this system is going to be able to handle. And again, all the water that's falling right here that used to travel across the street and inundate and flood your street in front of you to get down that one inlet, now is going to be able to get into that storm sewer through 11 inlets. And it's going to go through much larger pipe to get out there. So what I can tell you is the situation is going to be greatly improved from what exists right now. So if there was a 100-year rain event and water was to get over the curb and get into that, if right now, if that 100-year rain event happened, it would just continue to just pile up on the street and it would have a chance to do something like that. If
Since I've been here since 1990, we've had a lot of water.
We get a lot of water. Maybe you're at ours too. I'm glad we're doing this project. I do not want to make this special, but at the same time, it's my house.
So what about streetlights? Is there a plan there?
there's going to be new streetlights installed throughout the neighborhood. And then one other thing that was mentioned in the December meeting as well, and I just want to reiterate that for this meeting here, is when the project is all done, the final wear course of the street is not being installed with this project. So that's going to come in a few years, because if you've driven a lot of the streets in town, when all of the asphalt is installed and the street just remains, there's settlement that happens. the contractor can do as good as they can to compact those trenches, and you're still gonna get some settlement. So much like our surrounding cities in Moorhead and Fargo, we're going to leave that wear course off, and we're gonna come back in a few years. That way, if there's a trench that's settled, we can put a leveling course over it at that time, and then there'll be a new wear course that's gonna be installed several years from now, and then we can deal with any kind of trench settlement that would have happened at that time. So there will be a little bit of a lip on the front, on the face of the curb at the asphalt part of it. And it's gonna look like we didn't finish it, and that's intentional. It'll get finished with a wearing course installation in a few years. So that way, if you go 10 years from now, we'll have been able to take, say it comes in 5 years, we'll be able to let those trenches settle out, come back in, put leveling courses on, make the roadway flat again. So take that trench settlement out. And then when you're looking at the roadway 10 years from now, it's gonna look a lot better than it would have if we just did the project and let the trenches settle and not come back. So there is gonna be a lip on that front of your curb a little bit for a number of years before we come back with that wear course.
Is the cost for that already baked into the current project cost?
Our current intent would be that would be installed by Public Works, and it would just be done. I can't make a decision for a future commission or anything like that, but our intent would be that we would take a look, and that would just be a capital project that we would do.
So it's not guaranteed then?
No project 5 years from now is guaranteed.
Right,
Or any,
right.
the commission at that time decides. Yeah.
To directly answer your question, that cost of that workhorse is not.
Great.
What about damage to the concrete then in the interim, if there's emergency services or large vehicles or snowplow that takes out a curb, is anything built in for any of that? Or we just dealt with crumbled concrete, like we just paid for the park and it's all tore up now?
So
That's what I'm asking.
I was just gonna say, if there's structural damage to curb or something like that, when we come back to the wear course, there might be some patching of curb or something like that. We're not gonna completely replace all the curb. I mean, we do this, but yeah, I mean, you can expect that the snowplows are gonna mar the surface of that curb. There'll be some chips that come out of the front of it. It just, that's inevitable.
But it gets pretty rough back, it's tight already.
Yep. But I just want to make everybody aware of that.
What happens when you do the tear out and everything? My driveway's perfect, I just had it replaced. So when you take out the sidewalks, you know, if my driveway is pinned with rebar to the sidewalk, are you gonna cut that out first, or how are you gonna handle that?
We'll cut all.
They'll cut them off?
All the removal marks will get marked out, and we're gonna saw cut all
That's
concrete
okay, let's go.
where it joins to, or concrete that stays.
Just out of respect of everybody's time, with it being close to 7:30, we can keep answering questions one-on-one so the whole neighborhood hears everything, or we can split into some smaller groups and explain the typical section, sidewalk and whatnot, but kind of up to you guys.
Can I just say something real quick? When we're installing the sheet piling and when we're doing compaction of the trenches and when the road gets paved, there's vibratory equipment that's gonna be used. There will be some shaking. You guys will probably feel it in your houses, just FYI. So if you have anything,
Take it right off the wall?
yes, if you have anything special hanging on the wall,
All right.
think ahead.
But you'll let us know when you're doing that.
That'll be.
I would say it's starts next week and goes to October.
Okay, so take stuff off the wall.
Is there an expected like time for these?
Another thing real quick. All the other utility relocations, we have no contractual obligation with them at all. We just are trying to coordinate with them. So XL, Cass County Electric.
In this neighborhood, it's Cass County, right? If they have to do an outage next year or something, they'll be contacted. So it won't be, power won't be anything. Now, with that being said, if there is an instance where something accidentally hits a power and there's an outage, we'll next one.
Busy next year.
this one. I love that you said Jamie too.